Hello everyone. The topic we'll be discussing will be consumerism and how it connects to sociology. The video is an assignment for the sociology class Introductory Sociology at San Diego State University. The purpose of this assignment is to help inform us on key issues related to sociology of the body. The positions being advocated may not necessarily reflect the opinions of the students developing this video.
How did consumer culture start? In the 1950s, right after World War II, is when American consumer culture was first introduced. As the baby boomer generation grew up with the typical nuclear family was the norm, a whole new market opened up. They were easily influenced by advertisements and conforming to society. This newfound way of life caused an explosion in the marketing and consumer industries. Christmas. The first major apparent shift in consumer culture came with Christmas. With the nuclear family being the norm and parents wanting to bring smiles to their children's faces on Christmas morning, the market for advertising and consumerism exploded. Due to this phenomenon, Christmas began to make the shift away from being just a religious holiday to becoming a highly marketable and profitable holiday. Examples of this early shift are evident in large companies such as Coca-Cola and Macy's. Coca-Cola having the old commercials and advertisements with the fat jolly Santa enjoying their beverage, and Macy's having a seasonal holiday catalog filled with items that were hip and in style for the time, and at crazy discounted price, and they had a multitude of ads. These companies were able to effectively take advantage of the mass population and coerce them into buying the products. This is a trend that will continue until modern day. In this, you can clearly see the Santa advertisement where he's drinking Coke, and then on the right you can see the Macy's Christmas advertisements. They had parades. They would sell clothes and products there, and then you could also see in the modern example that it still continues to this day. By the mid 1950s, consumer culture was in full swing. It was no longer just about companies trying to push their products by using globally celebrated holidays. They had finally gained traction on the mass population, and the mass population was hooked on spending. By the end of the 1950s, companies had successfully put the idea in people's minds that material items equals happiness. I use Christmas as the main example for the rise of consumer culture because it is just that. It is a holiday that has become synonymous with spending tons of money to make the people around you happy, when at one point it was just a time to be around loved ones and celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. Just like the mass population has become played with consumerism. The counterculture to consumer culture. After about a decade of large companies having a chokehold on the mass population, people began to question the companies that were shoving the products down the throat. This led to the creation of the counterculture of America. In the late 1950s, the counterculture at the time were the greasers. If you know the story of the Outsiders, it may sound familiar. The greasers were the counterculture to the mainstream consumers. They were largely made up of delinquent and working class youth. They dressed dirty and in monotone type clothing: wife beaters, leather jackets, blue jeans. This was in protest of the mainstream consumer culture, who typically wore clean, colorful, preppy clothing. This was the first time in America that there was a major divide in subcultures due to consumer-related products. However, as time went on, the greaser style slowly integrated its way into mainstream culture, which historically calls for a rise in new counterculture. Following the greasers in the late 50s and the early 60s were the hippies. The hippies came to be in the time of the Vietnam War. Their whole purpose was to spread peace, love, and joy, and they dressed the part. However, like the greasers, the hippie style was eventually assimilated into society and taken advantage of by large corporations that shifted the products to match the current trends. You could see that even in the early 2000s, early 2010, with girls' clothing brands such as like Justice having peace signs and all that stuff. That all stems from hippie culture, which was taken by large companies and sold to the mainstream as the new product, the new thing that was hip. After the hippies, the next counterculture to rise and fall was punk, which was also shifted into mainstream consumer culture. After punk was grunge culture, followed by emo culture, followed by skate, hip hop, streetwear culture in the late 2000s, and this cycle rinses and repeats throughout society. From the late 2000s, you can obviously see through social media and other forms of media that style and all that has come and gone due to subcultures like the counterculture and main cultures pushing back. Without fail, the mass population is stingy and sticks to the trends until what was once a counterculture becomes mainstream. Then they switch, and they will continue to as long as large corporations take notice and cater their advertising.
Hello, I am Nicholas Blair, and I'll be discussing the connection between capitalism and consumerism. In researching consumer culture, it is important to know the deep relationship between capitalism and consumerism. So what is capitalism? In the book, You May Ask Yourself by Dalton Colony, he defines capitalism as an economic system in which property and goods are primarily privately owned, private decisions determine investments, and competition in a relatively unfettered marketplace primarily determines prices, productions, and the distribution of goods. With this definition, it is evident that capitalism and consumerism will connect. Since capitalism focuses on the distribution of products and services for profit, there will be consumers of those goods and services. Using tactics such as branding, advertising, and the media, it maintains consumer culture by making it so that people buy things constantly. To understand this, Adam Hayes stated in his article titled Consumerism, Definition, Economic Impact, Pros and Cons, that in common use, consumerism refers to the tendency people living in a capitalist economy to engage in a lifestyle of excessive materialism that revolves around reflexive, wasteful, or conspicuous overconsumption. In addition, Aniga Stein states in her article titled Capitalism, Consumerism, and Popular Culture that today, more than a century later, this need for personal hygiene has found its connection with the idea of beauty. She follows that up by quoting James Corbett, personal hygiene closely linked with the idea of beauty is a social construct that regulates the behavior of society. This represents that capitalism fuels the development of diverse hygiene and beauty products, tapping into the consumer's desires for social acceptance and self-enhancement. Toothpaste companies such as Colgate can claim that their products make teeth whiter than competitive brands, which in essence can encourage consumers to buy their products for the desire to enhance their looks. The following image shows a dentist which appeals to the credibility of the audience. The image states that it is the #1 toothpaste recommended by dentists. The connection between the image and consumerism is the effects capitalism has on a consumer by advertising in a specific ways to attract customers. All in all, capitalism and consumerism have a long shared history. The overall shared identity of both contribute to the clever advertising which leads to the consumption of goods and services. I will lead us in our research methods on this topic.
Hello, my name is Juan Hermosillo, and today I'm going to be diving into consumerism, the methodology, and the qualitative research behind it. There are many reasons to participate in consumerism, such as getting a quick bite to eat between classes, a new jacket for this weekend's football game, a coffee for study groups, etc. With consumerism becoming a regular occurrence in our day-to-day life, in society and college, we wanted to collect data and see why we participate in the acts of consumerism and analyze the different responses we can get from this. We chose to conduct our research through a qualitative method. With this approach, we had to decide which technique to use for our research, as qualitative research can be used in several techniques, including interviews, focus groups, and observations. We decided to go conduct our research by interviewing people/students on or near campus on their views of consumerism. We chose qualitative research over quantitative as it captures personal stories and details that would not be found in a qualitative analysis. Qualitative research, as according to the book You May Ask Yourself by Dalton Connolly, researchers collect qualitative data in a host of ways, from spending time with people and recording what they say and do to interviewing them in an open-ended manner, compared to qualitative research where it seeks to obtain information about the social world that is already in or can be converted to numerical form, and then use statistical analysis to describe the social world that those data represent. With our research method chosen, we created questionnaires for our interviews.
Hi, I'm Ethan Obrigowicz, and today I'll be talking about consumerism and the methodology that follows, and also qualitative interview questions that I asked to my fraternity friend Xander Carrera. Here are the questions, and there's a continued page as well. Consumerism surrounds us, urging us to buy through catchy ads and popular brands, making us feel like we have to have them. But what drives someone to purchase? This explores how social interactions shape buying habits, why people gravitate towards popular brands, how some people resist these trends, and how conversations deepen my understanding of these ideas. Social interactions, especially in public, strongly influence buying. Seeing others buy a product can make us want it too, as we often feel comfortable with familiar or popular items. For example, noticing many people ordering a new coffee drink might prompt you to want to try it as well, because you do not want to feel left out. This shows how brand recognition impacts choices. This shows that trusted brands make spending feel safer. Another factor in buying behavior is value, which refers to a product's usefulness or the personal satisfaction it provides. People seek brands that make them feel special or improve their lives, which is why companies aim to meet needs while offering a sense of pride in the ownership of that item. Trends also play a huge role in consumer behavior. Curiosity about what others often buy nudges people to want to try the same products or brands, especially those that are highly advertised or widely liked. The desire to fit in can strongly influence purchasing decisions. However, not everyone follows the crowd. Some resist mainstream consumerism by choosing smaller independent brands or alternative products to make a statement. Sociologists call this individual agency, which is the ability to act against societal expectations. It shows that not all purchases are trend-driven. Finally, understanding consumer behavior is enhanced through research, particularly qualitative methods that explore people's thoughts and habits. For instance, interviewing a friend about shopping preferences revealed how consumer theories connect to real-life behavior, offering insights into why people choose to buy or not to buy a product. In summary, consumer culture is shaped by social interactions, brand recognition, and perceived value. While many follow trends, others resist them. And research helps illuminate the reasons behind these choices, making us more aware of the forces shaping our own buying decisions. In sociology, qualitative research is huge in understanding the social world. It is very tied into methodology because methodology refers to the theoretical and philosophical framework that helps in research. It also helps us on how we gather data, interpret it, and come to conclusions about society. While I was asking qualitative questions in my interview, I was able to see that I was using methodology while asking them. That was a method to assist me in research and helped me refer to the theoretical and philosophical frameworks of these questions. Thank you.
My name is Brendan Goldstein, and today I'll be talking about consumerism and methodology used in these interviews I asked my friend and coworker, Evan. These are my interview questions, and these are the answers underneath it. In today's time, consumer behavior has become a huge part of our daily life and impacts almost everything from how we act around each other to the operations of business and even to how we envision our future. To dive into this, qualitative research could be utilized, which focuses on personal thoughts, experiences, and feelings. Research of this nature, therefore, helps us understand why people buy what they buy, how the choices that they make take tolls on their lives and others, and what it means for the times ahead. Qualitative interview questions, in addition to their collection and analysis and linkage to insights about methodology, further allow more of an in-depth look onto how consumerism shapes our world. To begin, I'll reflect on how the things we purchase influence our interactions with people. Brands, clothes, or phones tell much about us and influence the way we feel when interacting with people. For example, if a person has the newest iPhone or is wearing the most popular named brand item, they are perceived as being in style. This can help people connect to others who enjoy similar things. Consumers that purchase the same products often make friends due to the products, such as fans, over a particular brand or a style.
However, consumer choices can also create social divisions at times. It alienates those people who cannot afford to wear the popular brands or afford the latest product brands, and may be judged by society. This can create a diversion in society where the people with the more possessions could be held to a cooler status or higher economic status in comparison to those without it. Qualitative research will provide insight into these types of social effects. In this way, through interviews and open-ended questions, researchers can hear people's honest thoughts on how their purchases affect their social lives. Companies will be able to find out through interviews or surveys with open-ended questions why people prefer certain products over others or what feelings certain brands evoke within them. In fact, this will help companies produce more appealing products and keep the consumer interested and wanting more. In the future, consumerism could even be more influenced by social interaction. Social media already allows people to see what others like, and reviews and influences have a huge part in what people choose to buy. More people may also start to care if a product was responsibly made or good for the environment. This could lead to brands changing to fit into categories or sustainably because of what consumers are starting to look for. Meanwhile, new technology is likely to make shopping even more interactive. Think about people shopping with friends online, using virtual reality to try clothes on, or check out products with their friends, even if they are far apart. Qualitative research can help us understand what people feel about such as changes. Do they like more interactive shopping, or do they care more about buying products that are ethically made? This can be reflected through interviewer surveys regarding the importance of such social aspects for consumers and perhaps will shape the trends over the future. Consumerism controls everything from what we wear to the gadgets we use, even to what is cool or trending. The advertisements and trends deem as our wants, which in most cases are not really needed. We may just purchase to fit in with a class or group or to feel good about ourselves. This can be better understood if the qualitative research methods depict with honesty the feelings of people regarding how consumerism affects them. Interviews can be conducted with people that understand why they feel pressure if they buy things because of trends and how that influences happiness or their self-image. The study will cast light on how deep the threads of consumerism are spread in our lives. To end it all, consumerism behavior shapes our interactions, economy, and future immensely. Qualitative research will provide a methodology of interviewing people with open-ended questions to understand the whys behind the choices and how people feel about these choices. Whether social connections, economic status, or trends over time of the future, consumer behavior shapes such big parts of our lives. We can continue to explore these and other questions through qualitative research for a deeper understanding of consumerism and its place in society.